Hello, my friends. Welcome back to Restricted Republic. My name is Justice Knight, today filling in for Lisa Haven. Can't thank you enough for being here. As the title stated, I'm going to give you 15.9 billion reasons why in 2021, if we don't do this simple thing or die trying, the unthinkable becomes a permanent way of life for each and every one of us. If you believe that's an over-sensational title, I'm going to give you the facts and figures as how this has developed for decades. We are now being onslaughted by so much noise, so much information. People are now segmented into a way of life that was never meant by religion, by politics, by constitution, by anybody who had any semblance of reason. But what they have done is inundated our entire world, again, with so much information that now a lot of the information is all but useless. Because people no longer have the ability, except for you here, thankfully, to process. They jump on their phones and try to find their conclusions. And guess what? No matter what that conclusion is, they're going to be able to find it. Because there's 15.9 billion ways that they will find it. No matter what that thought process is. Because it doesn't challenge the norm anymore. Go along with what we've told you. And let's find it and make it even more effective for everybody. Let's find a way to assure we isolate everybody into this way of thinking. And they did it. They did it in 2020. And if it doesn't change in 2021, the outcomes, they're not only unthinkable, they're devastation. Also, before we go any further, Lisa asked me to give a shout out to her sponsor, NobleGoldInvestments.com. As you see on your screen, that magnificent gold coin. That one I'm holding in my hand right here for all qualified gold or silver-backed IRA. That's right. Convert your traditional IRA into a gold and silver-backed IRA. All qualifying accounts get that magnificent gift simply for going to NobleGoldInvestments.com. And also, so we can move full speed into the broadcast, if you haven't subscribed to me, Lisa will put a link just above me. Click on it because I certainly would appreciate the subscription. And also, as many of you know, Lisa and I have created RestrictedRepublic.com, the platform that's growing beyond our wildest expectations to give you the information to bypass the 15.9 billion reasons why is exactly why we created RestrictedRepublic.com. 14 days on us simply for joining. And trust me, once the 14 days is up, you'll go nowhere else for the news that matters. But now let's get back with this broadcast. So a lot of this information starts with the counter you see on your screen. That's the current world population. Always on the rise, 7.8 billion people as the count says right now. But just wait a few seconds. It will change, but that's not the only information we're going to cover today. We're going to cover how that corresponds with this. This information before your very eyes, 15.9 billion. I'm going to give you a much more in-depth explanation. But before we get there, I think we need to get a little background information going. The article that inspired most of this was published on Economic Prism, called How to Triumph in 2021 or Die Trying. Some amazing starting lines in this article, and I'm just going to read a few to you. It starts by saying, suckers, chumps, and fools. As context, those counting on government stimulus or relief payments to keep shoes on their feet and food in their bellies are going to be lacking. Indeed, many already are. But as disappointment has slipped to disenchantment, something remarkable has happened. The populace has made ever greater demands for the government to do something. Well, we saw evidence of that just over the last few days. Nancy Pelosi's house vandalized with pig's head, fake blood, and a political message. The message says, we want everything. And cancel our rent, by the way. She wasn't alone. Mitch McConnell also got his door tagged, where's my money? You see, it's not going to be enough. We have treaded down a very dangerous road, giving in to threats and demands. Well, the world right now is facing a crisis unlike anything it's ever seen. 2021 is going to illuminate that crisis even further as people start to feel the heavier financial strain that it has caused. But, well, that 15.9 billion will quickly keep coming into focus. But back to the article, it states, in the midst of this, America's fake news media recites the story of the national struggle with delicate and excruciating regularity. You've heard that drumbeat on CNN and MSNBC over and over. They frame all happenings from the locus of the two-party political system, if you believe there's still two parties, and not the one-party system that we have now seen come to light. Any diverging views are carefully sifted out. What's reported is only what the story script editors allow to pass through their single micron particulate filters. Now, that line in itself leads to our larger story, and that 15.9 billion number, because those filters are very defined now. They're defined by the likes of Google. Google in themselves, 63 fascinating Google search statistics. If you just drop into the article, the fascination becomes amazing. Google has 90.46% of the search engine market worldwide. Now, for everybody to understand what's happening in the world around us, you have to understand technology. And I don't know many people outside of you who have it in full focus. Google controls 90.46% of all the search engine markets in the world. Imagine how they can refine search results. So this 1 billion strong army behind Google, as the article states, in 2020, there are 6.9 billion searches on Google every day. That doesn't even go into our number of 15.9, by the way, or a staggering 2.5 trillion searches per year worldwide. Some experts say Google could easily break the 10 trillion barrier as well. With over 1 billion monthly active users. Oh, we should actually add that. Just so you know, when you want to get into the very nitty-gritty of what I'm about to show you, I left that out. I left it out. It's too overlapping with some of the other control mechanisms out there. But just remember in the back of your head now, 1 billion active monthly users. Twitter growing daily also. Enjoying, according to this article, 340 million. Well, that's actually changed. That's up at 500 million right now. That's how quick this information can cycle up. Facebook, by the way, 2.5 billion monthly active users. And that's the United States heavily focused, even though these are all global companies at this point. But we can go to one of the biggest globals, WeChat, and they're 1.2 billion users. These numbers would be astronomical to some, but they go to put into focus when you have that much power of consolidated information at the fingertips of so many people in the world. What can you do with that information? What can you control? What can you aid in? Facebook shuts down ad account for Republican fundraising committee 4 days before Georgia runoff. Whoa, now you have 2.7 billion active users. So you've now influenced what 2.7 billion people see or don't see. That's a lot of power for one company to have. Well, when you start adding up how much power, you see information control isn't only a U.S. problem. It's a worldwide problem. Why did Google take action against some pro-Trump ads? It's one of the many mysteries of its political ad rules. Even the rules are confusing in themselves, but we're going to go to the impression of which has lended to so much of what's happening around us. Now back to the Economic Prism article. We are told a never-ending Marxian tale of the evil rich exploiting the noble poor. How true is that? We're offered story after story with arduous focus applied to gradations of skin color. It's why we say at Restricted Republic we are colorblind, because that can't factor into anyone's way of thinking. People are people. Fractions of ethnicities, and the virtues of non-binary gender designations. Political correctness condescends any exceptions with forceful rigor. Step out of line and you're brutally canceled. How many of your conservative favorite pundits are now gone or lessened in their impact? Even worse, we're told the individual must submit to the greater good of the collective. That's what yours is theirs. Basic income and stimulus checks, because who's going to fund those stimulus checks down the road? Those who object are cast as selfish lowlifes. Thus, we must hunker down so that we may bend the curve. What do we need to do in 2021 to change all this? Oh, you didn't think this would only be a message of all the fire and brimstone portions. Oh no, there's things we can do. On top of that, the goal of hard work and paying one way in life has been reduced to a game for suckers. Stealth taxation through currency debasement has turned workers into chumps. Small business owners who believe in doing things for themselves have been made out for fools. Just ask the many restaurant owners out there to what's been done to them for just simply working for themselves to achieve the American dream. But what's the alternative? Being crippled by dependency like everyone else? By this, we firmly stand amongst suckers, chumps, and fools. And so do we. Because suckers, chumps, and fools stand for freedom and independence. They want no part of endless government. They downright refuse it. Moreover, in the face of today's assault on liberty, suckers, chumps, and fools have to embody the human spirit. And the human spirit, as we understand it, will triumph or die trying. Here's what we mean. Well, there's not only what we need to know now, then I classify into the sucker, chump, and fool category because every fiber of our being stands for freedom and independence. Those that have sacrificed their lives for our freedoms, I guess they stand in the term of suckers, chumps, and fools also, don't they? The many historic figures who have stood against the grain and paid for it with their lives for our very freedom and salvation. Herod and his soldiers made fun of Jesus and treated him with contempt. Then they put a fine robe on him and sent him back to Pilate. Or one of the criminals hanging there made fun of Jesus. He said, "Aren't you the Messiah? Save yourself. Save us." The parallels to what we're facing is something we need to take very, very seriously right now. This is no laughing matter. It's no joke anymore. 7 arrests after group vandalized federal building in Center City on New Year's Eve. You gotta love that title because the people who did that, the vandals, then hit the federal detention center on 7th and Arch Street with Antifa-related graffiti. Well, why'd you leave that out of the headline? I guess you just think we're all suckers, chumps, and fools for what's happening in the world around us. The Seattle bill could legalize crime for those in poverty or with behavioral issues. If you expect 2021 to be fair or reasonable or even comprehensible, good luck with that. Don't set your expectation too high. You're going to be let down. Which leads me to some of our concluding thoughts here as to what we're going to do about this. What do we need to do in 2021? How do we fight these 15.9 billion you haven't clearly defined yet, Justice? Well, what is the Great Reset? Reduced expectations and biotechno-feudalism. Reducing expectations. Let's read this article very quickly. The Great Reset means reducing incomes and carbon use. But Schwab and the WEF also define the Great Reset in terms of convergence of economic, monetary, technological, medical, genomic, environmental, military, and governance systems. The Great Reset would involve vast transformations in each of the domains, changing which, according to Schwab, would not only alter our world, but also lead us to the question what it means to be human. Really transitioning back to basics here in this, just an amazing series of articles they put out. I mean, this is stuff for geeks like us and over here at Restricted Republic that really get your blood flowing and your mind working, because this one, welcome to post-persuasion America. You got to wonder what that means, right? We have access to virtually all of humanity's accumulated knowledge and history on devices in our pockets. But the sheer information overload causes us to dig in rather than open up. Anyone who wants to change their mind can find a whole universal of alternate viewpoints online. But very few people do, especially beyond a certain age. For Steve Bannon, this meant that Trump's campaign and politics generally was about mobilization rather than persuasion. Mobilization rather than persuasion. The thing that they, by the very rules of the pandemic that we're all living through, have done everything in their power to dissuade you from doing. They want you locked within technology. They want you locked within that controlled message, controlled media. If you're to step outside of that paradigm, you're wrong. You violated rules. You violated lockdowns. You violated procedures. You've violated other people's health, you selfish being. Think about how it all starts to turn back in to what 2021 holds for us. But the article doesn't stop. It actually picks up speed because we can always find media sources which confirm our perspective and biases, which is very, very true, and dismiss those which don't. The notion of politics by argument or consensus is almost entirely lost. And no matter what our political or cultural perspective, there is someone creating content tailored to suit us as a stratified consumer. Thus, liberals, conservatives, and people of every other ideological stripe live in vastly different digital media worlds, even when they live in close physical proximity. This overwhelming amount of curated and segregated white noise comes at us every day. From 24-hour news to Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, idiotic platforms like TikTok and Discord with video games for the attention of our children. All of it leaves us numb and exhausted. Our attention spans suffer. We slowly lose our aptitude for deep thinking and serious reading. We attempt to replace wisdom and understanding with data and facts. Well, when this great replacement happens, is part of the great reset. Who's controlling the paradigm? Is it mother? Is it father? No, Nancy Pelosi wants to get rid of those words, except when it pertains to her own bio, but we'll skip that for a moment. No, they want the message coming through the 15.9 billion number. And we're going to quantify it. We're almost there. Because you got to understand how big and how vast and how monstrous this has become. TikTok worldwide users 2020. 815 million active users. Or, as this chart says, the most popular social networks worldwide as of October of 2020. Well, I've taken this chart and I've put it all together for you. And let's go and look at it now. Because the 15.9 billion, remember, that doesn't include Google's 1 billion. I just excluded that because some of you could say, well, people use multiple applications. You're right, they do. But it's irrelevant. When you start at the top, Facebook has 2.7 billion active users. YouTube, 2 billion. WhatsApp, 2 billion. Messenger, 1.3 billion. WeChat, Instagram, TikTok. You get into more of the worldwide platforms, but you notice the biggest market share exists with, well, US platforms. Just like everything else, it appears the attention has been put squarely on us. And could that be the very basis behind the reaction of so many when faced with the COVID-19 crisis? That adds up to 15.9 billion. Now, not to be lost on you, because you've already started to put this math together, you understand there's only 7.8 billion people in the world. And if we were to remove children too young to use technology, and we have 15.9 billion active users, how many times over have we been saturated with controlled media? You start to see how grim this becomes. And the story gets much deeper than that, the stupendous world of Google search statistics. Could you imagine handling over 6.9 billion queries a day? 6.9 billion queries a day through Google search engines. The YouTube 2 billion monthly users who watch 250 million hours of TV screens daily. It goes back to the basis of this entire discussion. If someone today wants to read Austrian economics, for example, a particular boogeyman of Steve Bannon, they can do so at virtually no cost other than time. They don't even need to leave home. Their smartphones in the palm holds a lifetime of reading and learning. It's just this one discipline. No physical books, no college, no tuition, no librarian, and I'll add, no interaction, no human companionship, no human touch, no human opinion, no group dynamics, just soul, isolated individualism. So why don't more people do so? The short answer is most people are beyond persuasion. Because the real world experience that they need to formulate more accurate opinions is real world experience. Well, that's been stripped from us, hasn't it? Downsized. Over the course of 12 months, that's all but disappeared. It's a A world that our children don't even know anymore. They've been taken out of school. The very experience they need to become the top of the top is gone. They are now compliant with this, the most controlled mechanism in human history. Because not only the information within it, the applications, the formatting, and the search results are, well, all controlled by your viewing history. Funny how this all fits together quickly with the 15.9 billion reasons of things we have to fight in 2021. I'm going to close with this final thought. H.L. Mencken was right about believing in liberty, but not believing in enough to force it upon anyone. Just as we oppose foreign interventionism, we should stop trying to remake those U.S. cities and states which are beyond help. That is such a critical line. We have to start focusing on what we can help and not what we can't. We need to recognize that tens of millions of Americans are likely beyond persuasion in the direction of sensible political or economic views. Millions more are committed socialists who would readily agree to nationalize whole industries and radically redistribute property. By definition, these are unreasonable views. So how does one use persuasion where reason is lacking? And I'm sure many of you are beating your heads against the wall on that very statement. How do you persuade someone that has no reasoning whatsoever, of lack of normalcy or independent views? You can't. Post-persuasion America requires us to think about how to separate and unyoke ourselves politically from Washington, D.C. Our immediate future lies in hard federalism, which dovetails with a sort of soft secession, which is happening already as millions of Americans vote with their feet. Mobilization and separation, not persuasion, is the way forward. So what does all that mean to you and I? What do we do in 2021 different? We walk away. We walk away from those fights that you can't win. You're not going to persuade one side of this equation any different than where they're heading towards. But there's those who are wavering. They're starting to feel the impact of what's happening. They're starting to watch what's occurred in the political realm. They're starting to understand government is too big. They're starting to see two parties are one. Now those are the people in 2021 that you and I, this entire audience, have to put our arms around and help walk them towards the light, especially those under the age of 30. This impact hasn't fully come to realization for them yet. It's about to. When they realize that $600 or $2,000 check means nothing but a form of basic income, necessary, critically necessary for some. We won't take that away from anything, but it's the cost that that check comes at. The destruction of capitalism, the pacification of an entire republic before our very eyes, controlled by, and don't forget this, 15.9 billion unique users, when there's only 7.8 billion people in the entire world. That's how powerful this opposing force is. That's how influential. And that is what we will continue to focus on going through 2021 as you help us to take those on the fence. Just don't waste your time on the liberal left. They're gone. They're gone. Those who believe in socialism are gone. The state of California is gone. There's nothing we could do. Why waste our resources? Isolate and protect those that we have a chance of getting to understand what the actual Constitution called for, what a republic truly is. And then we will start to see success as we control our own backyards and control those schools of thought that the mainstream media and the 15.9 billion impacted by those tech titans are being steered towards believing, which is noise. You see, they want you defeated. They don't want you to have any power or feel you have any power whatsoever to persuade, impact, or change anybody's mind, because they've conglomerated everything into a huge stew, a huge pot, because they took the melting pot principle and used it against us. Because it's not okay to try to focus on one person anymore. It's all or none, right? 2021. You have to apply what we've spoken about, or else everything in our future is a future that none of us want to face. Can't thank you enough for allowing me to be here again, allowing me to fill in for Lisa. If you haven't subscribed to her, please do. Just an amazing, amazing broadcaster. So many years of experience. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, of course I want you to. Get over there right now. Remember the link. She'll also leave it below in the description box. Can't thank you enough. On behalf of Lisa and I and Restrict the Republic and all the information we're going to bring you in 2021 to keep you focused on what matters and not the noise. That's why we created the platform. 14 days free on us now, simply for joining. Can't thank you enough for being here. Godspeed and God bless. Justice Knight, signing out.